G'day guys, Clint here from Waterpro. I am just about to record episode number 46 of The Full Landscape with Ben from Living Landscape Design and Construct. Ben is a very new business owner, started his landscape construction business in the last 12 months. I think he's just clocked up 12 months. During the COVID pandemic, decided he was going to go out on his own and start his own business. Ballsy move in my mind, but when you got that itch, you need to scratch it. So Ben did his time. He's done his full landscape training, and is now fully licensed and insured, and is now moved into business ownership. Currently, we're in a lockdown in South Australia, 7-day mandatory lockdown. So Ben and I had a bit of spare time. Thought we would get on Zoom and have a contactless podcast. Unfortunately, the quality of the audio is not quite there, so I apologise in advance. But the quality of the information is there, so bear with us. If you've got any questions for Ben or myself, please feel free to stick them in the comments below. And all of Ben's details will be linked up in the description if you want to get in touch with him. Other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
All right, cool, man. So thanks for joining me. Obviously, your availability hasn't been a massive concern. Usually we would schedule these a bit more in advance, and then, we'd have landscapers kind of rushing in here in the middle of the day. But I wanted to take the time to try and record some of this stuff while people are at home, and hopefully, bring some value to people that are locked down that can listen to a bit about your story. So before we dive into the podcast, if you'd be happy to just introduce yourself, your business, and I guess that 2 to 3 minutes about how you got to where you are now, and I guess the journey to becoming a landscaper.
Yeah, so Ben Grycewicz, we own and run Living Landscapes Design and Construction. Started mid-COVID last year. So we've been running for a full year now. It's me and another person, just a labourer. Been in the construction industry for 15 years now. Started when I was about 14 or 15, helping my dad out on residential foundation, concreting, steel fixing, everything like that, and progressively just moved through the industry. In 2014, found myself out of work with 3 young children and a wife. So decided to enroll in TAFE, enrolled in the Cert 3 of landscape construction. Then from there, just started going 4 or 5 days a week and applied for an apprenticeship, got an adult apprenticeship with Levant Outdoor Solutions out to Gawler. And from there just rolled through, left there in 2019 and started up this last year.
Okay. I think last time we spoke, you had more than 3 kids, so you've obviously had children since 2014?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. How many children have you got at the moment?
So we've got 4 at the moment. We've got a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and we have another baby girl due in October.
Wow. 5 kids, that's intense. I thought 3 was challenging. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's great to have that much love around, but there's definitely days where you could, I guess, be thankful that you get to go to work.
It gets pretty hectic.
I can only imagine. So you mentioned Levant there. You obviously did some work with them. How long were you there for, did you say?
2015 to 2019.
Okay. And so you finished your apprenticeship through them?
Yeah, I finished my apprenticeship through them. I finished in 2017 and then continued working. Learned a lot of stuff through the other guys who are experienced, who are on that team.
Yep. And then you just got to a point where you had that itch and you had to scratch it. You wanted to go out on your own?
Yeah, basically, I've always wanted to own my own business and be out on our own doing stuff, and I like being able to create things and use different materials to do that. So helping people create their vision was sort of what I wanted to do.
Okay. And are you doing design work? I think you've got design in your company name. Is that part of the strategy, or are you working with a designer to be able to deliver that kind of result?
At this point, I do most of the small designs myself. We're not focusing on it majorly, but it's definitely part of the business that we want to build up in the future. I mean, last year during COVID, I was studying landscape design at TAFE, and then COVID hit bad and we couldn't go into campus, and it was just too hard to study online. So I decided to put it on the back burner for a little bit and went ahead with this, and hopefully I'll get back into it very soon.
And so you've mentioned that you started your business. So you've only traded during COVID-19 regulations.
Pretty much. We basically stepped out and started full on last July, and we've just done our full first financial year.
Yeah. Last July is in July. So you're doing July to July, or you're talking like 2 Julys ago, July 2019. So you've done.
No, we started in July 2020.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So you've come out. That's an interesting time to choose to start a business. Obviously, you didn't have any concerns. It was just something you wanted to do. Sort
of just split second decision, really. Like sitting at home after stopping TAFE for a bit and sort of not doing too much. And obviously, I had super sitting there that wasn't really doing much at the time. So we pulled whatever super we put out of my fund and bought some tools in the trailer and got going.
I think the idea with super is that it doesn't do much at the time. It's meant to do a lot in your 60s. So having it sitting there is the whole point. But I'm not the best to talk. I didn't pay myself super for about 7 years. So I back myself to, I guess, make sure that I've got enough super at the end.
Yeah.
So you guys are based out north. Is that correct?
At the moment, we're based in Hope Valley, but I think we'll be moving out to a bit more north by the end of the year.
Northeast at the moment,
yeah.
So we probably could have done this podcast face to face, but I imagine that we would have had to pretend that it was recorded last week. Because I drove from Hope Valley to come here to do the podcast, so that's amusing. And what kind of work? I mean, you said you went out with just one person. Have you got more staff now?
At the moment, we've only got myself and a casual labourer. We're probably looking at hiring more towards the end of the year, if not the start of next year, would probably be best. Just trying to make sure we've got that, basically the work in the bank to make sure it's there, and like that work booked in for the few months, just to be comfortable in putting another person on and making sure that they're going to be covered.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's smart. I mean, you see when situations like this occur where you can't work for an extended period of time, the more staff you have, the harder it is to navigate things like lockdowns. So what kind of work do you focus on? Is it kind of just whatever comes to you at the moment, or is it, I guess, retaining walls or paving, or what specifically are you guys doing?
At the moment, we're licensed for all of that. We're licensed even for residential foundations and construction like that. But we focus mainly on, the residential landscaping and like basically renovation projects. Go in, take someone's yard that they're not happy with and turn it into something they are happy with.
Yep. And the residential foundations, obviously you mentioned at the start, that was something that you had from working with your dad. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So he's been doing that with his dad. He's done it for over 30 years. It's sort of like a family thing that happened, and I just learned along the way. At 15 years old, I was helping pour concrete slabs for houses and that. So I know heaps about it, and I'd like to continue that, but it'll probably be like a branch off, and we'll separate that from the landscaping and do it in a separate manner.
Not something that you're super passionate about. I'm guessing, obviously, if it was just about money, going into concrete would have been probably a good, not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's nothing really fancy about concrete. I mean, it's detailed and it does take a bit of experience to work with it, but it's not something you want to be doing every day. I mean, I've only just turned 30, but still from those years of doing it back then, you see the aches and pains and stuff people have after years of doing it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. You do realise that paving and planting plants, etc., is going to probably give you the same physical pain long term. Not too concerning.
It's residential. No, not really. Residential foundations are quite laboursome. I mean, pulling back concrete and having to deal with that every day of the week. a bit harder, I think, than paving and that, but I enjoy
your
the
opinion
landscape.
counts. I've done neither, so I'll take your opinion.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy a lot of paving and that sort of stuff more anyway. I mean, pavers, you've got such a variety you can use and turn into something different. Concrete's just, you can change colour and do exposed, but at the end of the day, it's still concrete.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the obviously the branching out of that department, that's just something that'll come up when it comes up. You haven't really got a set.
Yeah, well, we've started putting the wheels in motion on that. So living landscapes, at the moment I'm still sole trader, but in the next few months we're looking at switching that over to company status. We've got a proprietary limited name registered and looking at creating an entity placed under that. So that'll be One Rock Construction Proprietary Limited.
Yep.
So yeah, we're already wheels in motion with that sort of stuff and getting that in the works.
Yeah, that's cool. I think moving to a company is a good idea, especially if you have that desire to grow the business.
Yeah.
It's just going to hurt you otherwise. I waited too long and stayed as a partnership for too long, and there's a lot more flexibility with a company structure.
Yeah.
So, did you finish high school, or did you left high school to move into to TAFE, or how did that look?
Completed year 12 at what's now the Avenues College, used to be Windsor Gardens Vocational College. So we did that, went to move into a business course in TAFE, didn't like it, barely did it, so got rid of it and sort of just worked until I found what I wanted to do.
Okay, and then that just fell into landscaping. Did you do much of the business course? Like, did that help at all, or you just didn't get far into it at all?
No, I just didn't really get far into it. I think I was just too stuffed after high school, all that study and trying to finish that and going straight into it. It just didn't work. I've never been one to be able to sit behind a desk each day.
Do you think now, looking back on it, now that you're running a business, that you regret leaving that course, or you've learned what you needed to learn just, I guess, day to day?
I think day to day I've learned what I need to learn, and I've got a good network around me. My brother-in-law is an accountant, and he's very good at, he likes doing the advising and financial management and that sort of stuff. So he's been very helpful, and we've got a good network around us of people who are in business or know business that we can rely on each other, really.
So I guess that's interesting, because I think that a lot of young businesses probably don't spend enough time on their accounting or their budgeting early. Has he helped you with any budgeting? Are you looking at that, I guess, understanding your numbers at the start of a financial year and then planning how that looks?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously this wonderful lockdown that we have gives me time to work on all the computer work and all the sort of stuff I need to build into that. And even through last year, before we even got to the end of the financial year, he built a 5-year budget projection for us with costs and everything that we've approached the bank for certain things, and they said it's more than they've seen from most people who've been in business 3, 4, 5 years. So
that's pretty cool.
I think we're off to a good start.
So what's, I guess what I'm seeing from the majority of landscapers at the moment is that they're really struggling to find staff. But from my experience, finding staff when you've only got 1 or 2 isn't as hard, because it's generally people that you know that come across. Have you got a plan for that pipeline of staff? What's going to make you different from the rest when these guys are looking for work, if anything? I
haven't really planned it out too much. More just I'll see what the skill set we need straight away is. And at this stage, it's probably looking at, due to the fact that we've only got a labourer on at the moment, we'll need another fully qualified or someone who's got some decent experience in the industry to come on and sort of take the reins a bit day to day, so I can drop back just a little bit and start focusing on making sure that work's there for those who are working and making sure everything's covered.
Yep. So you're obviously pretty young to the industry, obviously being a business owner for a short amount of time. So I'm going to assume you've got a very fresh perspective on the industry. Do you have an opinion about, everyone's got an opinion, but do you have anything that you would change about how the industry operates, or that you think that you were shocked by coming into the landscape industry, being that you're still quite young?
Not really anything I'd change, but I do find the fact that the landscape industry in South Australia being more of a network more than competitive is quite different to most other industries. Most other industries are sort of like people fight against each other a lot, whereas like going to the Master Landscapers events and Waterpro events and that sort of stuff, like I haven't done too much in the past. Like seeing just the networking and the camaraderie between different companies and businesses that it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
That's been great. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like there's like not an attitude of famine, and there's I think, and it's not everyone, but the majority of people are comfortable in their space, and they know that there's enough to go around, and so that they're keen to help each other. I mean, it's not perfect, but I don't really have anything to compare it to because I've been in the industry for so long. But I guess if you've worked in the concreting industry or foundations, I'm assuming that's what you're reflecting on. Or have you worked interstate or?
I haven't worked interstate. I've worked in the concreting and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of competitors out there, and it is a lot of the time like you get a price and someone will undercut it, or someone will try and do it cheaper just so they can get the work. And in a business perspective, that doesn't really work. You're not making money. You're just trying to make a wage at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then with the landscaping, it's completely different. Just the fact that everyone knows everyone, everyone's there, everyone gets along. There's no really infighting or anything. It's just been completely different to what I've experienced in the past.
When you decided that you were going to leave employment and go start your own business, I guess talk me through your thought process and what the things were that you did first. Obviously, you see businesses kind of get their business cards sorted first. I guess for anyone that's maybe looking to start their own business now, or that's at high school and looking to move into landscaping, like what were the things that were at the top of your mind when you decided to start your own business?
One thing I've always been really strongly opinionated about is making sure that you're licensed and insured correctly. So when I was going out, licensed and insured.
Yep, licensed and insured, yep.
Yeah, so when I decided to start the business, I made sure that I didn't go and do any work until I had my contractor's license, and that had come through. And I also made sure I had the public liability and all insurances in place. Those are the first two things. And obviously, with your license these days, you need to do 2 units of small business management. That's listed on the government websites anyway, so you can check them out. But yeah, those are the two strong things. And then leaving the employment, it was a hard thing because I still enjoyed working at the van. But at the end of the day, I still have connections there. I still talk to Levi and the guys there at the van, and worked with them last week. But it was just I needed to change the scenery, needed to do something else, and I can't be stuck in one position for too long.
Makes sense. When you with the licensing, did you find that process to be challenging because you had, like, I guess, was it? I've never had to do it. Well, I have done it, but not recently. I think that there might be a number of people that don't get their licensing because it just feels all too hard. Was the process relatively easy, or?
They make you jump through a fair few hoops, definitely.
Yep.
There was a lot of paperwork involved. I mean, the application, because we applied to so many different categories of different things, that probably made it a bit worse. But there's all different things like a police clearance. You've got to provide qualifications. I had to have a technical Zoom interview and go through that with someone from the Office of Consumer Business Services. And, at the moment, those Zoom interviews, they've got a backlog and you could wait 10 to 12 weeks just to get the interview in. And that has to happen.
Yeah, I was hearing numbers of 16 weeks recently. Because of the, I mean, it's good because it obviously means that we are, I guess, moving in a direction where landscaping, or I'm assuming it's not just landscaping because they're dealing with all trades, but trade licensing is being treated with more respect. So I don't think it's a bad thing, especially for guys like you that have actually jumped through the hoops to have, a fair level playing field for you to be playing.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't get your license and you go out and do the work and get stung for it, it comes back to bite you in the ass so hard. I mean, it's just not worth the penalties you pay. It's just worth getting the license and getting it done properly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We did a podcast with Sam from SA Trade Licensing a while back with the intent that it would help people that were struggling to get their license. So it's nice to hear that, I guess, someone who's young in business is taking it seriously and has gone and done that. So you talked about you've got, I guess, people around you like your accountant, or not your accountant, but you say it was your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Yep. Is there anyone else that you, I guess, looking to as a mentor? Or is that something that, like, who do you go to when you're looking for help or advice in business, or are you kind of just researching stuff yourself?
I do a lot of research myself. Jump on different things. Like I've listened to some of the things you've had on the Full Landscape podcast before. Different things like that. I've got 2 friends, or family and friends, who are in business and been in business. And they're pretty open with me about that, so we can talk business and talk different tactics and stuff. And yeah, obviously my brother-in-law is an accountant, and he enjoys researching and also advising in the way of like setting businesses up and their structures. So he's always giving us advice and that sort of thing. And my sister-in-law is also our bookkeeper, which helps. So it's sort of a lot in the family, but it helps us out a lot because I've got people who I can trust and who I know who are going to work for my benefit, not just their own.
Yeah, that's fair. Obviously, we're able to do this podcast because we're both pretty free with time at the moment. I guess there's no shying away from the fact that there's a lockdown in South Australia, and I didn't want to focus too much on it, but I'm curious to know what that's meant for you. I guess how did it go look for you on the day that you found out that we were going into lockdown, and what are your processes then? What did you have to do to deal with that?
So on Tuesday, when we found out about the lockdown, I was out and about collecting materials for the next day, plants and stuff. So we've got our jobs all booked up till the end of August at least. So now that pushes, I've had to notify 10, 15 different clients that I'll let them know what's going on as I know. I've got materials now sitting at home, not going anywhere, making sure I keep these plants alive that were meant to be planted yesterday. I've got obviously my young labourer who I've had to say basically go home, don't do anything. It's been a difficult one to navigate, seeing that the government has come out and said that construction on all schools is now essential, but not construction in general. It doesn't really help us. It helps out all those who are on commercial jobs. I'm not sure how many schools are actually being constructed at the moment anyway. But,
I didn't catch it. I've been kind of trying to ignore press conferences until I find out the information. And I thought I heard something about schools, but that's really interesting because the schools are Stephen Marshall's jobs. So it's nice to see. I wonder what would happen if he was in the middle of building a home for him and his family to live in, if construction might be a little bit looser. But
It's possible. The only other thing I was saying to my wife this morning as well is that I'm not sure we'd be able to go back and work on our jobs anyway if they said construction is all good to go, but everyone else is still in lockdown, because we have interactions with the people on those properties, like the residents who live in the houses and that.
Because they're actually still
living there. It
makes it
really hard. They're still living there, and it's their home. They've got to stay there, but yet we're coming into their space. So, yeah, it makes it difficult.
I think that would probably depend a lot on the client, and it would depend on how they roll those changes out. I think there's plenty of people. I mean, we had work happening at our house last time, and I was not too concerned. But I think, like I said, it's going to come down to how comfortable people are with having people in their house if they're potentially immunocompromised or they're concerned about contracting illnesses more than others. So what, I guess, best case scenario, we reopen. I have a feeling Monday that construction, in all areas will open if our COVID numbers don't go up much higher. You just hit the ground running, ring a client and go straight to their house and get working?
Yeah, basically the client we've got at the moment is all guns blazing. Really, he's keen to just, as soon as we can get there, we get there.
Yeah.
And the next ones we can just roll on to the next jobs, provided everything's all good with those different clients. I mean, each and every individual person is all different. Our clients have a variety of different ages, so whether they're worried about their age and what's going on out there, I'm not too sure, but it's just a matter of contacting them and sort of talking it through with them and just making sure we keep them up to date on what we're doing as well as everything else.
Do you have an opinion on the government grants and I guess how your business sounds like a good size it kind of fits the government grant that's come out for the businesses. How do you feel about what was rolled out yesterday?
Yeah, I think you're right. Our size of business is probably perfect for the $3,000 government grant that is for employing businesses, and obviously $1,000 for those who don't employ helps because it's only for themselves.
Yep.
In the way of something of the size of like Waterpro or even my old employer Levant, who have at least 10 people working, it doesn't really do too much. It's sort of just a little bit of a boost in their wages maybe, but they're still losing money. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the lockdown, whether it was a good idea or not, but I haven't really decided on it. But at the end of the day, I don't have the power to change it, and we just got to roll with the punches.
That was a big one. I did a staff video this morning. I do a lot of communication with my team through YouTube videos. And I just said to them, I've been talking to you guys about this for a long time, but you can't control what happens to you, only how you react to it. I do have an opinion about the lockdown, but that's not for this. And I just said to them, we have to do what we're told, otherwise you're going to go to jail. So let's do what we're told, and we just make the best of a bad situation. So obviously you're now 12 months? Yeah, 12 months in. Talk to me about stuff that you expected might be different, that you're, I guess, surprised by or disappointed by that hasn't happened yet, or that has happened that you didn't think would.
I didn't think we'd do as much turnover as what we did last year. Our first year was incredibly good for the situation of COVID and also first year in business. It surprised us, but at the end of the day, a few things didn't happen. Like I wanted to eventually buy our own sort of like start getting machinery and a truck. It hasn't happened yet, but we've worked around it. We're in the process of doing it. Like I said, just got to roll with the punches. It was great learning experience. Different jobs, different clients, just every day is a different experience and learning something new.
Yeah, that makes sense. The truck thing, just you haven't, I guess, got to a point where you're comfortable putting that kind of money towards it?
We've been comfortable putting that money towards it. It's more the bank just requiring different things, and obviously being sole trader status at the moment doesn't make it easy. It makes it a bit harder. Hence the reason it's another advantage to roll over the company status.
Which is ridiculous, because the sole trader, as a bank, you'd think they'd be more comfortable lending to someone where they could take their whole house. But I guess if I was good at being a bank, I'd be a bank. So kind of just have to go with it. Do you listen to podcasts? You said you don't sit still. I'm guessing you don't sit down and read books.
I absolutely hate sitting down and reading a book unless it's something really, really, really interesting. So I try and listen to the podcast. I like watching the YouTube videos and stuff like that. As much as I do try, I don't get to watch them often enough. But it's definitely something I like. And after listening to the second ever podcast you did with Mitchell Davies from Standard Stone, I reached out to Mitchell just saying like the things he mentioned on there were still relevant, even though it was so X and X years ago. It was so relevant still, and it was really good and informative. And it was great to see Mitchell reply back as well straight away. And we've never even met each other, but that's what I meant by the landscape industry. So it's such a network that you can rely on obviously probably not 100% of people, but 80% of people out there you can rely
No,
on.
look, there's always going to be that. There's always going to be people that don't fit that mold, but that's okay too. It's interesting you mentioned Mitch. I'm trying to go back and do another podcast with all the guys that I podcasted early, and get a bit of a, some of those, like you said, they're 3 years ago, and just to see what's changed since then.
Yeah.
And just get a bit of an update. Because this is the beautiful thing about where you're at. Like, you're so early in this journey. It's nice to be able to record this, and then for us to be able to look back on this in 5 years or 3 years and go, oh wow, like these are all the things we talked about, and look what's happened. What do you look like? What's the next 3 years look like for you? What are you focusing on? I've lost you. You there?
Yeah.
Did you catch the question?
The next 3 years for us, yeah, I can do. Yeah, you asked what the next 3 years looks like for us.
Yeah, talk me through that.
Yeah. Planning and progressing however we can, really. Like, obviously we have different entities we want to explore and branch out with, like the foundations and other different things that we're looking at as well. I like to make hay while the sun shines. I told my children yesterday, while it's shining outside, get outside. Every opportunity I can possibly take, I'll take. I've got different people in our network who can supply different materials for us and do things like that. And these materials that, as far as I know, no one else can source just yet. So, I'll make an opportunity out of everything, grow the team. 3 years down the track, I'd like to have at least 3 teams running, and go from there. And be able to step back off the tools a little bit. I like being on the tools sometimes, but be able to step back and sort of direct more than anything, and make sure everything's being managed properly.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's it's not an unfamiliar, I guess, goal for me to see that. And I think the beautiful thing is, like, there's plenty of people that have walked that path before. So it's a completely walkable path, and there's obviously a lot of people out there that you can reference and see the journey, and maybe learn from their learnings as much as your own, to try and shortcut your journey a little bit. I've got no more questions for you. I guess if you've got, if you want to plug what you're doing at the moment, or I guess where people can reach out to you if they want to get in touch, what's your best communication area?
Best communication for us is hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, where I'm there. Currently in the process of building our website, making sure I'm happy with it. I'm pretty OCD about things and wanting them perfect before they go out. We've currently got Google listings being built, and just send me an email or grab my contact details from someone, Waterpro at Dry Creek, have business cards. They've got them. Our email is livinglandscapesdc@gmail.com. People can hit us up anywhere. You'll find us around.
I'll get Duffy to link up the all of your socials underneath the video. You mentioned earlier a proprietary limited company that you've registered.
Yes.
Have you locked down all your socials and the domain for that?
Domain not yet. We've got an Instagram started for that. That's One Rock Construction. Mm-hmm. And I'll be looking at, over this next week, overhauling our marketing and advertising and stuff through Facebook and all of that. So by the end of this lockdown, hopefully we've got a good fix on everything.
The reason I ask, I'd make sure that you grab that before this podcast goes live, because there'll be people out there that will buy the domain. So if you need help with that, hit me up. I'll be able to help you out. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day. I'm sure it was nice to be able to secure you. And all the best, man. I really hope that you hit those numbers that you're targeting early. I think you'll probably be faster than 3 years, and it'll be cool to, I guess, shoot the shit again in 3 to 5 years and to see how far you've come.
No, sounds good. Thanks for having us, Clint. And hopefully everything goes back soon.
Hopefully Monday, man. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Gotcha.
See you, mate.